Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here, and Play Hearthstone just dropped these 27.2 patch notes, and this is the biggest patch Hearthstone has ever had. It has everything in it. Patch 27.2 is a massive patch, launching both Battleground Season 5, so tons of changes to Battlegrounds, new hero, new minions, minion pool updates, anomalies system. Battlegrounds is just, it's unrecognizable. And the first official Twitch season, our first ever direct-to-wild expansion. There's a new expansion in X.2 patch, and it's coming next week, on Tuesday. Like, what? This is just, and standard balance changes. And standard balance changes like a small line over there somewhere, because there's so much stuff in this patch. But let's take a look at some of the main stuff. Battleground stuff, they have been talking about Battleground stuff already earlier this week. I'm not going to go through that again, but the rest of this stuff, let's take a look. First of all, what is this thing with the new set? New special set, Caverns of Time. The infinite dragonflight is trying to go back in time and change the way the Battle of Ahn'Qiraj went against the old god Cthulhu. The fate of the world and the true timeline hangs in the balance. It's up to you to hold off their attack, or join them instead. Caverns of Time is a new type of Hearthstone expansion, including card reprints, new cards, and some new card cosmetics. It's also Hearthstone's first ever direct-to-wild expansion, meaning that the cards will not be legal in Standard, so you don't want these packs if you only play Standard. You want to play wild with these. Caverns of Time launches on August 31st, and it includes 147 cards, 111 buffed reprints, and 34 brand new cards. Okay. So the obvious first thought in my mind is that, hey, we're talking about a digital card game, what is this stuff with reprints? But actually, I have to say that Blizzard is doing this right. They're actually doing the reprints right. Read the small print. Duplicate protection applies for these reprints. If you already have or disenchanted the original versions, you won't open them again in Caverns of Time packs until you have opened all new cards from that rarity. Alright, so there's effectively 34 brand new cards. If you already have a complete wild collection, you already have those old cards that they are buffing now, your old cards that are buffed, they're buffed, and you have them already. So you will only need those 34 new cards, and you won't get those buffed cards until you have opened all the cards of that rarity. Okay, obviously, like we can see here, Murazorn, the Thief of Time. Well, that's a new card, and that's a legendary card. So yeah, you may need to open a bunch of packs in order to get the new legendary cards. So that is going to take something, but at least the old cards will not take any space in your packs, any unnecessary space. So I like that. I think Blizzard is doing this correctly. That's something. Direct to Wild also really note, if you play Standard, don't buy these packs. I mean, if you only play Standard, you can play Wild and Standard both. That's totally fine. You can do that. But if you only play Standard, don't buy these packs because the cards are not legal in Standard. Well, it's going to be a bunch of cosmetics, signature cards. Cosmetics, I like monetizing games with cosmetics. I mean, let the whale spend money and let me get on by a little cheaper because I don't care about cosmetics that much. That's totally fine by me. And then, of course, the new cards and then the reprints. What are the reprints going to be about? We have a list of 111 of these reprints. Then there's going to be 2 reworks that they will talk more next week, and we also don't see all the new cards yet. But the reprints, there's quite a lot of Cthulhu theme going on here. So opening up with Druid, we have Cthulhu theme, we have Jade theme, Jade Behemoth getting a buff. Some interesting stuff, Aviana going down to 9 mana. For Hunter, Lock and Load, the 0 mana, that was something that immediately caught my eye. Okay, I think it's a meme deck, right? But still, Lock and Load 0 mana. That's awesome. Also, Acid Maw, Dread Scale. Finally doing the types of things that you would want them to do, with Acid Maw and Dread Scale combo actually killing all the enemy minions and not your own minions. Yay! It only took some years to get there. But okay, so lots of Cthulhu stuff. Some meme stuff. We have Mana Worm getting back to its 1 attack and 3 health. We have a buff to Cable Crystal Runner, as if Secret Mage was too weak or something. Kabbalist Tome, we have some random stuff increasing in power. Some Secret Paladin comeback things. Mysterious Challenger used to be a 6 mana 6/6. Now it's going to be a 2 mana 2/3. Yep, so get the Christmas tree out early. Christmas is coming early. Oh boy, it's just there's a bunch of pretty interesting stuff here. And buffs to totems as well. Tuskar Totemic 2 mana, Thunderbluff Valiant, Battlecry and Inspire give you totems plus 2 attack. I remember the Thunderbluff Valiant days. In some ways, maybe we are going to get to relive some of the old fan favorites in a little bit of changed form now that they're getting a bunch of buffs so that they are better able to respond to the power level of Wild. On the other hand, they might just still be too weak, but it's fun to see. Except for all these buffs to discard stuff, like Discard and Warlock, maybe a more awkward duo, but Blizzard, they just love it. Then more Cthulhu stuff, more Jade stuff in the neutrals. Couple of things that really caught my eye in the neutral thing. Cthulhu itself going down to 8 mana. Yeah, they really want you to play with Cthulhu. Oh boy. Emperor Torisan, 5 mana 4/4. I wonder if that's even enough, but Emperor Torisan is such an iconic card. And then Sludge Belcher, 3 attack, 6 health. Yeah, like Sludge Belcher, when Sludge Belcher was released and for a very long time afterwards, it was a phenomenal card. It just defined what a good defensive minion is. And now the power creep in Hearthstone has resulted in one of the most iconic and most powerful cards of its time, just getting a buff so that it will be playable again. So there's quite a lot of this stuff going on where they're buffing archetypes that used to be playable, are no longer playable, but maybe this will be better in Wild. I haven't really analyzed what this is going to mean for the Wild meta overall, but it looks a lot of fun. And then we have the Twist official launch. Yeah, Twist is back on September 1st at your local ladder reset time. We'll be kicking off the first official season of Twist. Well, Twist, the beta season of Twist was a pretty bad disaster, I have to say. People just weren't that into gathering old cards in order to play United in Stormwind meta all over again. Are people going to gather even older cards? I have to say that right now I'm very pessimistic about Twist. I was optimistic when Twist launched. I had not assumed that so many people just don't have their Wild cards anymore and don't want to get back into having those cards. But obviously Blizzard knows all the cards that everyone owns. So that should not have come as a surprise to them. But it did come as a bit of a surprise to me. And now, because of that experience, then I am really not expecting much from Twist, because this Twist thing is going to be the Wonders era. Wonders era. Legacy set, Curse of Naxxramas, Goblins vs Gnomes, Blackrock Mounting, Grand Tournament, League of Explorers, Whispers of the Old Gods, One Night in Karazhan, Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, and Caverns of Time. So the new Caverns of Time set is going to be included. So this is not actually going to be quite the Wonders era, quite the old pre-standard, pre-Wild era that you may remember, because those Caverns buffs are going to play a huge role here. I mean, Cthulhu stuff, Jade stuff, hugely buffed, looks pretty strong. So expect Caverns of Time to play a major role in this Twist season. And I'm also really skeptical about whether people will actually play this, but on the other hand, this should be much more fun than just playing United in Stormwind again. So there's that. If this doesn't encourage people to play with some old cards, then what would? And yeah, there is the obvious answer that nothing would, and this whole idea is a bad idea. But let's not get into that one in more detail. And then we have the standard balance changes. Yeah, it took this long to get to the meat, maybe. Standard balance changes. Hollow Hound is going to be hit by a nerf. It's going to be a health nerf. Instead of being a 3/6, it's going to be a 3/4. Still keeps the beast stack, keeps the same cost, keeps the same attack, keeps the cleave with the lifesteal and rush. It's kind of a curious nerf, I would say. It means that the Hollow Hound doesn't necessarily stick around for as long, but it can still be equally devastating against many of the more aggressive decks. You just play it and you heal so much. You might even buff it and heal a lot, so I don't know. This seems like very minor nerf to me. So Hunter should be perfectly fine after this. That said, Hunter takes another hit with Costumed Singer, old 2 attack and 1 health, and now it's going to be a 1 mana 1/1. Okay, so Costumed Singer cannot really trade into stuff. You can easily value trade into Costumed Singers. Alright, that slows Hunter down a little bit, makes them a little less intimidating in the early game. And then we have the Nature Shaman nerf, Bioluminescence from 3 mana to 4 mana, so slowing down that Nature Shaman OTK by a little bit. Alright, I'm totally fine with that, I think that's okay. Nature Shaman wasn't performing super well, but in order to keep Nature Shaman down, people had started to tag in stuff like Speaker Stompers and just like Cult Neophytes, cards that would prevent people from casting spells. Obviously, in addition to Nature Shaman, there's also stuff like Rainbow Mage, so there's multiple decks that are really spell heavy. But maybe with this nerf, then people might cut some of those deck cards again and play a little bit of a more normal deck. And then there's one more nerf, and this nerf really caught me by surprise. Thaddeus, Monstrosity. What? Your odd cost cards cost 4 less. So instead of costing 1, now you can't play a 1 mana Sargeras. Now your Sargeras is going to cost 5. So it's going to be much more difficult to like resurrect your Thaddeus and immediately drop Sargeras. Or alternatively to like play your Ooze and then kill it and summon Thaddeus from your hand and then play Sargeras. That just won't happen anymore because Sargeras won't cost just 1. Okay, I can see it, although I didn't think Thaddeus Warlock was such an intimidating deck, but obviously when it rolled high it felt really bad. So okay, I guess I'm fine with that. I was never a fan of mana cheating anyway, so alright. But in addition to the nerfs, we're also getting buffs, and one of the decks that is getting buffed is Plague Death Knight. They don't get buffed the way I wanted to. I wanted them to drop some of those rune requirements and allow us to build more, but instead they're making Down with the Ship actually really good. Like Down with the Ship used to be deal 3 damage to a minion if it dies, shuffle 2 random plagues into your opponent's deck. And now Down with the Ship is deal 3 damage and shuffle 2 random plagues into your opponent's deck. No more conditionality, it always shuffles the plagues, and that 3 damage can also go face. I mean, 2 mana. It's a Dark Bomb that also shuffles plagues into your opponent's deck. This is actually a really good card now. Would I put this into some kind of Death Knight deck that wasn't even a Plague Death Knight? Would you play this in Frost Death Knight now? You probably still want 3 Frost runes for the Frost Firm. Yeah, maybe that Unholy Rune is messing up with that, but I mean, this card suddenly became really good. Then there's a Mythical Terror buff from a 3/10 to a 4/10. The end of your turn, force all enemy minions to attack this. Okay. I wonder if that makes it playable. I didn't feel like it was much of use before, but we'll see. Then a pretty weird Druid buff, because you don't really play Frost Lotus Seedling right now in Druid decks. From draw 1 card, gain 4 armor, and draw 2 cards, gain 8 armor, into draw 1 card, gain 5, and draw 2 cards, gain 10, so it gives you a little bit more armor. Makes it a little bit more possible to play a slower Druid strategy, maybe something that would include Ionar even. But is this a relevant card? Maybe it is now. And when it comes to relevant cards, there's hardly any cards that would be less relevant than all the Paladin cards that summon Earthen. But Disciple of Amidus is getting a buff from 6 mana to 5 mana, but also losing 1 health. 5 mana 4/5 at the end of your turn, summon a 2/2 Earthen. I don't think Earthen are still going to be a thing. I just have zero faith in this. Maybe with the mini-set, if we get more Earthen summon cards in the mini-set, but right now I just don't see this affecting anything. However, this buff is much more interesting. Tear. Old 7 mana, new 6 mana. 6 mana 4/5 that resurrects a 2, 3 and 4 attack Paladin minions. I think I want to play this in pure Paladin now. I think Tear looks sweet. Okay. And pure Paladin wasn't even a bad deck before, and now it's getting buffed. Alright. Also getting buffed, Meme Priest. Astral Automaton. From 1 attack 1 health to 1 attack 2 health. I'm actually a little bit scared about this buff. Because I have found that I have often been able to just remove the automatons, but now with automatons having more health, they can actually be a lot trickier to kill. And then when there's multiple of those and each of them has 1 more health, it can't be right. But I'm actually a little scared about this. Then a pretty strange Warlock buff. Fellstring Harp from 2 mana to 1 mana. Whenever a hero would take damage on your turn, restore 2 health instead, lose 1 durability. Felstring Harp isn't really even played at the moment. You could play Felstring Harp in Control Warlock decks. And with this buff, I think you probably want to, because it's tons of healing. You use your hero power, instead of losing 2 health, you gain 2 health. You Hellfire the board. Instead of taking 3 damage, you gain 2 health. So it's just a lot of healing, and now that it's 1 mana, I might put this in my Control Warlock. I think I will try. And then, remember when Blizzard said that they were going to make Control Warrior good this year? Because Pepperidge Farm remembers. And I guess Blizzard also suddenly remembered, hey, we were supposed to make Control Warrior good. Because now there's some warrior buffs coming, and these are pretty spicy. Bladestorm from 3 mana to 2 mana. Yeah, I'm totally playing that in Control Warrior. Sure, Bladestorm has had some issues, where there's some small minions on the board and then Bladestorm just stops too early. But at 2 mana, that's totally going in my deck now. Stoneskin Armor is getting a huge buff, from 3 mana 3/4 into a 2 mana 2/2. And this is going to be a really big deal, because it has often been a little bit difficult to weave Stoneskin's armor into your turn so that you're able to change your armor and then get those cards and then maybe use those cards for something. And 1 mana cheaper card draw, that's a really big deal. And the warrior buffs are not ending. They're just not ending. Craftsman's Hammer, old, after your hero attacks and kills a minion, gain 4 armor. New, whenever your hero attacks, gain 4 armor. This is actually now stronger than I dared to hope this would be. Because I thought that they would just change it so you will gain armor after you hit. That was what I had talked about before. But now you actually gain the armor before you hit. Which means that you have played Odin and you have Craftsman's Hammer, you're just dealing so much damage. They made it so good in the late game now. Just wow. And it just doesn't end. Well, okay, it does end. This is the last warrior buff. Trial by Fire from 7 mana to 6 mana. Now playable. Trial by Fire, it was kind of okay-ish. Barely playable. Barely playable removal tool. Now it's great. Okay, so that gives Warrior the 1 more removal card that they needed. With Bladestone being made a little bit better, Warrior had Brawl, Trial by Fire is now good. So we're getting into the territory where that Odin Control Warrior might not be a meme much longer. Next week, Odin time. And there's also a new in-game event coming, Battle of Ahn'Qiraj, starting on September 5th. So there's still a while before this one. Join the Battle of Ahn'Qiraj, celebrating the launch of Twist. You will get 6 card packs. Well, those are all old ones, apart from Camera of Time. Well, they're all still wild packs. 2 signature Noshai Clerics and 2 signature Death Lords. And the signature style looks like modern, current signature style, which is actually pretty sweet looking. So some sweet looking iconic cards coming in the event next month. And finally, also next month, Heroic Tavern Brawl is returning on September 6th. This time it's going to be a wild Heroic Tavern Brawl. And if we win enough games in Heroic Tavern Brawl, or Heroic Brawliseum, they haven't decided on the name yet quite thoroughly, then you can get a lot of packs. But math is not on your side. Because on average, this has a huge rake. Blizzard is taking a ton of gold out of the system with this. And if you're not a gambler, then this is not something that you should be playing. The standard disclaimer every time there's a Heroic Tavern Brawl, I will say that because the math has not changed and numbers don't lie. But yeah, huge patch coming next week. New set, straight wild set, Battlegrounds completely redone. Just Twist is coming back, standard balance changes. Wow. So much stuff. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.